A very warm welcome to you and a very happy new year. I know it's a bit late in the year, but I haven't seen you all, so first time I've seen you. Happy New Year to you. And welcome to the prize giving for the Robert Burns Poetry Competition, which is now under the auspices of the UNESCO Dunedin City of Literature. And my colleague Nikki Page is over there, who's the director of our City of Literature. I hope you've all been doing lots of things related to City of Literature and enjoying our status, because it's just a wonderful achievement for us and needs our support. We're going to start, I was going to just hang on because our medals are awaited. We've got a nervous moment while the medals arrive, but we'll press on because we do need to finish at 6 o'clock because there is something special going on this evening, as it's happy birthday to Robert Burns, and we'll all be hopefully heading over to the Burns supper shortly. So we'll crack on with the award ceremony, and I'm sure our poets are eagerly awaiting the reading moment, shaking your boots. Enjoy it, it's lovely, we just can't wait to hear your poetry. So we'll start. My apologies first of all, we were going to have a lovely piper this evening, but he's unwell, so I apologise for us not having a piping session. I would have volunteered. Here's the medals! Hurrah! I'm sorry. Thank you, Anne. My heart's now beating. Okay, so I must apologise for that. I did volunteer to play the bagpipes, but nobody wished to take me up. So, but we will have a little bit of music later, more will be revealed then. So, our wonderful competition, the Robert Burns Poetry Competition, is run in partnership with the Dunedin Burns Club. We've been a partner for 14 years, I think, now with the Burns Club, and it's a wonderful relationship we have with them. We're very proud to support this competition and keep the love of Robert Burns going. It's also supported by the Centre for Irish and Scottish Studies at the University of Otago, by the Otago Daily Times, and I'd particularly like to thank Royden Somerville, the president of the Burns Club, Bruce Little, the secretary, Anne Garsby, who brings medals late to prize givings, and Mr Liam McElvenny, who are all on that Burns Club committee and who have helped to shape the poetry competition into the wonderful thing it's become today. I'd like to thank Rebecca Fox for the great article she did today in the Otago Daily Times. I thought it was very good. And for their assistance in promoting the competition and for publishing the winning poems every year. They're good supporters. I would also like to extend my grateful thanks to Nikki, the Director of City of Literature, for her unstinting support in promoting this competition across the world. We're now an international competition, and that's what City of Literature does for Dunedin, so it's a great, great asset. And special thanks this year, of course. This is the first year we've had sponsors, so we have cash prizes for our winners. It's very exciting. So I'd like to thank our generous sponsors who've enabled us to offer these prizes to the winners in each category. So those are the Dunedin Edinburgh Sister City Society, that's a lot of S's, who have sponsored the Youth Prize, the Dunedin Public Libraries Association, otherwise known as the Friends of the Library, who have sponsored the Unpublished Poets Prize, and Royden and Lee Somerville, and the Otago Scottish Heritage Society, who are sponsoring the Published Poets Prize. So thank you so much. Big round of applause, I think, for our sponsors. And of course, a thank you to our poets who have entered the competition. We've had very, very much enjoyed your poetry. It's always a treat, and we're looking forward to hearing it read aloud to the audience. And of course, thanks must go to our wonderful judges, the Dunedin poet Eleanor Paletti, and the 2017 University of Otago Burns Fellow Craig Cliff, who both had the difficult task of selecting the winners from a really broad range of entries. We've received entries from around New Zealand, as always, and indeed all over the world, including the United States, the United Kingdom and Australia. It's very exciting for us. So we are firmly on the international stage. Well done, you have won against the world. Before we press on with the competition winners, I'd like to invite Mr Royden Somerville to come to the podium. I've lost him, there he is, to speak on behalf of the Dunedin Burns Club. Thank you.
Thank you, Kay, ladies and gentlemen. As you've heard, I'm president of the Dunedin Burns Club and also the Otago Scottish Heritage Council. On behalf of the Dunedin Burns Club, I would like to thank very much the team that put this competition together. And I'd like to thank the judges, the sponsors, and particularly our poets. The standard of the poetry was very high, and I thoroughly enjoyed reading the poems and thank all the entrants for their sterling efforts. Congratulations to all the winners and the place getters. Now, the Dunedin Burns Club has been involved in the competition since its inception 14 years ago, as Kay mentioned. The club was established in 1861, and the objectives of the club include celebrating annually the birth of the Scottish poet, Robert Burns, studying his poetry, and in other ways perpetuating his memory. In addition, the club seeks to foster the love of Scottish song and of story. Now, the medals that are going to be presented tonight are named after a number of presidents of the Burns Club. The first medal, which is the William Brown and Charles Turner Medal, is awarded to the winning published poet. William Brown was the president of the Dunedin Burns Club in 1948 and 1949, and from 1962 to 1965 he used to host a popular radio program calling All Scots. Charles Turner was president of the club for 3 years from 1956 to 1959 and was passionate about the poetry of Robert Burns. He also recited the Dogs with William Brown in a concert from memory. He read extensively about Burns and was very knowledgeable. The Alan Miller Memorial Trophy and Medal is awarded to the winning unpublished poet. The late Alan Miller was president of the Burns Club from 1959 until 1961, and together with his wife Flora was a strong supporter of the club. He was also a patron of the club, a position he had held until his death. The Stan Forbes Medal was awarded to the winning young poet. The late Stan Forbes was born in Dundee and came to Dunedin in 1958, where he met his wife Roberta, who came from the west coast of Scotland, and along with others, including Dunedin's J.K. Baxter, he learned Tam O'Shanter as a child, off by heart. He was, and I understand Liam McIlvaine can do that as well. So, he was a stalwart and office bearer in the Dunedin Burns Club, and was president from 1969 to 1972 and patron of the club until 2011. So it gives me great pleasure now to well, what's the next step, Kay? What am I giving pleasure about? Right, great pleasure to hand it back to Kay.
Didn't you do well? Thank you, Roy. Thank you. I'd now like to introduce our wonderful judges who have a hard job this year. Eleanor Paletti is a Dunedin-based poet who has a number of her poems set to music, most notably in collaboration with composer Anthony Ritchie on the choral work Lullabies. And that was written for the Auckland Choral Society, and it was also performed in Dunedin by the City Choir. Eleanor has a background in literature, having studied English and languages at Auckland and Otago universities, and has been writing furiously since about 2012. Yes. Craig Cliff, on Eleanor's right, is the author of the novel The Mannequin Makers and the story collection A Man Melting, which won the 2011 Commonwealth Writers' Prize for Best First Book. In addition to fiction, Craig has published poetry, essays and reviews, and he's been a newspaper, I can't say this word, columnist, and is an experienced poetry and short story competition judge. His work has been translated into German, Spanish and Romanian, and he participated in the University of Iowa's International Writers Programme in 2013. He was appointed the Robert Burns Fellow at the University of Otago for 2017, and we'll hear more about his time in Dunedin shortly. So I'd like to ask Craig to come to the podium first to talk about the youth category and his role as Fellow of the University of Otago.
Thanks, Kay, and kia ora koutou, everyone. It's great to be here on a summer's evening. A bit hard to think in a sort of a Scottish mode with weather like this, but I'm sure once we start to hear the work of the poets, we'll be able to be immersed in that world. As Kay mentioned, I'll just, for a minute or two, reflect on my time in Dunedin as the Burns Fellow. I'm paid, I'm on the university payroll for another 6 days, so I'm still the Burns Fellow. But I have one foot out the door. I've moved most of most of my family, most of my stuff, they're in Wellington. My daughter starts school for the first time on Wednesday, so that was the ticking time bomb really to get us up back to Wellington. But so I flew down to Dunedin today, and after being away for 2 weeks, I've just slotted right back in, and it's going to be even harder, I think, to leave when I have to get back on the plane tomorrow than it was 2 weeks ago. It's been a fantastic experience to be immersed in Dunedin and be able to immerse myself in my own projects. I'll read a poem now. One of the things I didn't know I would be doing when I came down to be the Burns Fellow was collaborating with the computer science faculty at the university. And it came about when I was asked very early on in my tenure to write some found poetry about Dunedin. And it was so early on that I think I'd been here 6 weeks, which was long enough to know that I couldn't get away with some of the touristy stuff that you can kind of back up on the people who've been here 3 days and think this is great. And all the locals sort of go, ha, the bit of beaches down that way. But it wasn't long enough that I actually felt I had anything really personal, or I didn't know what would be meaningful about Dunedin in the long run. So I got very interested in recurrent neural networks, which is a way of teaching a computer to produce text based on a limited set of information. So what I did was in this collaboration, trained a computer to speak English to produce what looks like poems based only on the lyrics from Dunedin sound bands of the 80s and the 90s. So with the lyrics from the Chills and the Cleans and the Verlaine and on, I would then sort of prod this machine and give it some seed text so it would know what to say. It would say things like "Welcome to Dunedin" or "Take your place in the world" or something like that. And then these Dunedin sound lyricists would take over in a very mangled sort of way. So the poem I'm going to read is sort of a poem in inverted commas, and it was something I produced as part of that experimental feeling. I think I was drunk on the freedom I'd been given of being able to do whatever I wanted for a year. But it's sort of doubly meaningful for me now as I've just returned to Dunedin this morning on the plane. So there's plenty of sort of welcome to Dunedin signs in the airport. But also it's kind of bittersweet because I'm leaving again tomorrow. And it's also nonsense because it was made by a computer. Welcome to Dunedin. Welcome to Dunedin at dark. Already it's sort of off topic. You don't force dreams. People see only the thread that ever dreamed, and, for you, a star. Welcome to Dunedin. Haven't they run out of naked sorrow gloom? Now you'll find stuff shaking bright eyes where the wind he reaps soft passes of a blue town, and, baby, you're dead. What? Please. Now gone in confused linger. Welcome to Dunedin. Chorus. Dance to question the mind. Welcome to Dunedin. The impering ocean is now blue. Say you would never, never do the lie by land. The message turned to the pot Saturn, a day seized, hauled off. We belong that tell the prayer. Welcome to Dunedin. Old Hallow's joyride and no one. Gazing beside me come snow. Trust that I'll get beauty, that any chaos will. So to the youth category, I think it is one of the special things about this competition as a whole is that there's this opportunity to encourage young people to write and to write for others, to write first of all for judges and hopefully to be in a position to have their work published and presented publicly, and alongside that to have prize money, as Kay said, and to get the ball rolling in what could be a lifelong journey as a writer and a lifelong series of successes hopefully. And as I sort of, in the ODT, my quote was truncated when I was talking about there were a small number of entries this year. and moves are afoot to get more of those. But I think the other side of that coin is it's fantastic. It's a fantastic achievement of all of those who actually did enter, because it's not something that just happens entering a competition, and particularly a competition like this where it's attached to the name of Robert Burns. And the stars need to align for a poet to enter a competition like this. They need to know about the competition, they need to produce the work, and then they need to have the confidence to enter it. And that's not, having all of those things happen, especially for a young writer, can be quite difficult. And I would like to see, particularly within Dunedin and within high schools, English teachers taking this opportunity and running with it and being able to introduce their students to the work of Robert Burns, and to be able to provide examples from the winners this year, to be able to say this is what a response to the life and the work of Robert Burns looks like from 2017, but hey, now it's 2018. What would you be doing from your perspective, and what would be reflective of our time, but taking something from the work of Robert Burns? So I'm really excited about some of those moves that are afoot to be able to build on the foundation that we have in this competition already. Right, so I will announce the third place winner, the second place winners, the joint second place, and then the first place winner, and she will come up and read. So in third place was Serena Chen with the poem When There Was a Bird. Serena lives in Sydney, so she's not present today. But maybe we should, I think we should. And I should add that Eleanor and I judged these poems blind, and it was a coincidence that we decided that second equal in the youth category was actually two brothers, Fletcher Korpua and Angus Korpua. And maybe we realised this on some subconscious level, because Fletcher's poem was called Weka and Angus's poem was called Falcon. So there was a bird theme there that the brothers had embraced. They both live in Dunningham, so I understand that they're not here today. So again, let's thank them. First place, the winner was Belle Williams for the poem No More. And I'll just say a few words about the poem and then invite Belle up to read her poem. So for us, this poem stood out as the most mature entry in terms of its use of language and imagery, and the progression it demonstrates from stanza to stanza, while also being reflective of a period in life that might be termed adolescence, particularly in the extremity of feeling that it demonstrates. While the link to Burns was not immediately clear, what is clear is that with a bit of encouragement, which hopefully tonight is providing, Belle can become a force to be reckoned with in the other categories within this competition in years to come. So congratulations, Belle, and if you'd like to come up and read.
Okay. I'm a little bit nervous. I normally only read to my mum, so bear with me. When the pain goes in, the blood seeps out. My mind is drunk, but my body is sober. The air is clear, yet I choke on everything. My eyesight is perfect, yet my life is a blur. I know I'll grow old, yet death is at my door. Happiness comes naturally, yet it feels like a drug. My wounds have healed, and half my heart. My mind has started working, but not too fast. I've started to breathe now, the glassiest of air. My eyes like fog windows, now starting to clear. My knowledge of growing has cleared my doors. I learned how to smile, no drugs anymore. My pain is no longer, no blood shed to clear. My mind is now sharp, without a care. The air I breathe now is purest of all. The windows my eyes have brightened to full. My doors have now opened to the thought of age. I no longer need medication to be engaged.
Bruce, would you mind stepping up to present? Bruce is going to be leading.
Like the Olympics. So, thank you, Craig. Thank you, Bruce. From the Dunedin Edinburgh Sister City Society, and thank you again for your sponsorship of the category. And now I'd like to invite Eleanor to come forward and talk about the unpublished poets category, please.
Thank you, Kay. Thank you, everybody, for coming. Before I talk about individual poems, I'm picking up on things that Craig has said. I wanted to talk very briefly about why we might engage with Burns' poetry. In a lot of ways I'm probably speaking to the converted, but let's remember that Burns is a very fine poet, and so engaging with it is always going to be an enriching experience. I think also that it became clear from what the poets commented on in the paper this morning helps us understand as well, because they talked about some of the qualities of his poetry. But the crucial thing for me is the breadth of that poetry and the integrity of that making. He's a maker in the Scottish term. And from Tam O'Shanter through the poem to the Mousey and right through to the Red, Red Rose, all of those poems are made with this integrity, this critical intelligence, and the joy of making a poem. It's all there for us to share in. For us, thinking about entering the Burns competition, we're required to engage with a very complex and very ambivalent person. A person who grew up on a cattle farm, was for many years a cattle farmer, and benefited from his father's intention that he should be literate, and from his own very hard work to become not only literate, but this very fine maker. He wrote for everyone. And I think that's a thing we need to remember in the context of the 18th century, that he wasn't writing for an elite, he was writing for everybody, the people in the tavern, the people on the road, just everyone. He could write for the elite if he wanted to, but he focused on writing for everyone, and he valued the work of other poets of the folk. So his enormous activity in collecting and, shall we say, revising the songs is testament to just how highly he valued all of that making. I think another thing that we need to engage with in Dunedin is, why is there a statue of Burns in the middle of everything? It's one of the few cities in the world that actually has a poet in its middle. The questions arise when you realise that he's backed by mammon, the church and government. But quite what that says, I'm not quite sure. We need to consider why that statue was put there, and also, this is something that I might eventually engage with myself, why he is as he is, what he's wearing, his pose, the whole thing. Why isn't he in boots and driving a car? You know? Is he supposed to be an establishment figure? No. I don't think so. So, if we are going to enter a poem in the Burns competition, we are engaging with all of those things. And it will be a joy and it will be an enriching experience for us, not just another class activity. Let's write a poem like Burns. Absolutely not. We need to engage in our own time and place and with our own language, be it Scots or not, with what being Robert Burns meant then and now. So, I have very great delight in calling on the place getters and winner to present their work. Victoria Stewart unfortunately can't be with us, so I've invited Joan Anderson to read her very amusing ode to Facebook. Joan, if you wouldn't mind.
This is the third place. Third place in the uncovered poems.
What's the name of the poem?
Victoria Stewart.
Victoria. Well, I hope that I can do justice to Victoria's writing. Ode to Facebook. You sneaky bugger, you're in my head. I even check you from my bed, with wondrous posting overnight or through the day. No flummox then, my sleep is light, and hair's gone grey. There's much updating, selfie making. How oft it seems my friends are mating. But oh, I wonder if they sleep, so much they're doing. As often as they seem to eat, they'll ne'er stop chewing. A fool. For days my life I've shirked, too long indeed since I have worked. For here is love, and I can heart it. Sweet sating feed, emojis, hashtags, grand emotions, heed, share and seed. But now I'm scared I've missed the boat. While I just lived, I didn't gloat. I never told it to yourself, these things I feel. So now I'm lacking likes and wealth from living real. Won't status updates improve my mettle? Let folks believe I'm in fine fettle? And not just sitting on my lonesome with eyes on theirs, just wishing for a life more wholesome that ne'er compares. Here's to dating, dining, trips abroad, the winning of the odd award. They post it all. It seems divine in all its glories. Oh, Facebook, would that it were mine, this stuff of stories.
Thank you, Joan. I think you'll agree with me that that was a splendid rendition. My comment on that poem to myself during the judging process was that this was just a wonderful choice of subject. It was now, but it was very much approached with a Burnsian attitude. So shows already the freedom that you can have. In second place, Ella Robinson with a poem called She Kens. Can I invite Ella to? Hey everyone, just quickly like to thank the sponsors and everyone involved in the organising of this event. It's been a really awesome opportunity, and thank you to my friends Lily and Rosie for coming to support me today. I'm also very nervous to write a poem in Scots, and I think to kind of do the rhythm and the words justice is to attempt to add a Scottish accent to this. No, it's not something that I know, but I've been trying and practicing at home, so forgive me, but here we go. You ken the lassie a speaker, her with a winsome smile, the dancer kind, what ails your mind, and holds your heart a while. You ken the circle gatherer, the yin wi' worldly ways, the sangster kind, what fills your mind, wi' words o' warme days. Her ain they held me, soft, sae soft, her wi' ready laughter. She kens fu weel, she's catched my quill, and my marvellous laughter. Again, notes to self. A very good tight progress through the poem and a splendid close to the poem, and just a wonderful attitude. That's what really stood out for me. Last but not least, Peter Sutton for a poem addressed to the New Deal. And I had to keep thinking, no, this is not Roosevelt, the New Deal. This is somebody who's, again, looked at Burns and brought him forward with a wonderful attitude. So, Peter, can I get you to come forward and read your splendid piece?
Mr. Peter Sutton.
May I say for a start, it's wonderful to be back in Dunedin. I spent 16 years of my life working here and studying here, and it's a delight to be back. I had some difficulty because in my experience I've never found a sonnet written by Robbie Burns. But I'm very fond of the sonnet because it requires brevity. We've only got 14 lines. It requires discipline in the working out of the rhythm and of the rhymes. And since I come from Warwickshire, I was converted very early in my life to Shakespeare's sonnets. So I'll read a sonnet addressed to the New Deal, in brackets, government. O thou, whatever title doth suit thee, Labour, New Zealand First, or even Green, you still have the power, all folk like me, for good or ill, which is as yet unseen. For 9 long years, when national was thy name, we seem powerless to change thy course. Thy policies oft led us to complain, but now thy chariot has another horse, and another rider, or 2, or 3, with fulsome promise of great change, the results of which we've yet to see, though we must doubt they lie within thy range. I've often heard my Reverend Granny say, in lonely lanes like these, thou likes to stray.
Now this category was sponsored by the Dunedin Public Libraries Association, and I'd like to ask Joan Edgewood to come forward and present this prize to Peter. I believe you've come a long way, haven't you, Peter, today? Have you come all the way from Nelson?
Yeah.
All the way from Nelson. And included in the prize are 2 tickets to the Robert Burns supper this evening on behalf of the Dunedin Burns Club.
Well, on behalf of the Friends of the Library, it gives me a great deal of pleasure to thank you, Peter. In the paper this morning it sounded as if you could just dash off your poem, but we know that although you may not have spent weeks on it, that all the experience of during your life of words and rhythm and meter and style have contributed to the wonderful poem that you have just read us. I hadn't heard it before or was able to see it online, and I was greatly touched by it. And thank you so much for coming all the way to Dunedin, and it gives me great pleasure to give you your prize. And I feel like a queen.
Majesty, and thank you, Eleanor, and the Burns Club for the tickets to the supper. And now I'd like to invite Craig to come back again and talk about the published category of the competition.
Thank you. Hi again. So this is the bit where I dish the dirt on this year's entries and give my hints and tips for people who want to enter next year. And there's not a lot of dirt to dish. I don't think my expectations coming in was that I would get a lot of Scots, and that made me very anxious. And what I found was a goodly amount, maybe 3/4 and try to incorporate Scots to some degree, maybe just the odd vocabulary word here and there, or some sort of in a full-blown a dialect. And the big trap for young players is really you need to pick how you're going to use that language and you need to follow that through. So if you're going to use a word here or there, that's fine. But if you're going to start out and with all the apostrophes and everything, then you need to be consistent going through, because that's a very it's a red flag to a judge to be able to see when you've potentially lost interest or lost the initial burst of energy that it's taken to write that poem. We're looking for the appearance of a polished work, and as Peter demonstrates, it may not have been something that you've tirelessly worked over for months and months, but we want that appearance. We want to be impressed that this is that every comma is in place. As Eleanor was talking about the statue of Burns, that was one of the tropes that appeared in a couple of the poems. There were also a few that were addressed to mice. There were flyovers of Dunedin and those sorts of things. And I think that is fine that the poets can use the same approach. I think what I would say to that is sometimes your first impulse is somebody else's first impulse, and the challenge then is to be able to think about what is actually what do you bring to the perspective of Robbie Burns' statue in the Octagon. What is the poem that only you could write using that approach? So some of the poems didn't quite push through and push the poem hard enough to be able to present something that struck me at least as being entirely unique. But there were a great number of poems that were just a delight, and made our job quite hard to be able to settle on who would be recognised and in what order. And as you can see, we stretched our remit by having a special commendation. And part of the reason was that when we looked at how everything shook out, or we looked at our first, second and third place winners, they were actually all quite did a fantastic job of writing in a version of Scots. And then we looked at this other poems by Beverley Martin's Wading Through Scottish Burns, which was told, which didn't rely on adopting a voice other than our standard English that we would use every day here in Dunedin. And we felt that it told a very personal story and a relatable story for everybody who passes through Dunedin or who lives in Dunedin or who come from somewhere else. And it was linking back to Burns in a few ways, some more subtle than others. So that's why we decided to stretch the rules and provide a special commentation to Bev, and now invite her to come up and read. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Craig. And just to sort of follow on from that, just a tiny bit of context before I start reading it, just to settle down. This poem is actually sort of the story of my father, and I'm from Dutch stock and I don't have any Scottish links per se,
But weirdly enough, at the end of the Second World War, my father, so he didn't fight in the Second World War, but he was conscripted straight after it to go and quell the Indonesian colonial war. But because the Dutch army was so broke at the end of the Second World War, they had to farm out their training of their troops, and he ended up in Scotland, which was, as this poem will show you, is quite an odd thing to be in Scotland one minute and Indonesia the next. So this is for him. Wading through Scottish burns. Clambering slippery burns, enduring stinging rain, my father, a Dutch lowlander, cursed whoever decided harsh basic training in the Scottish Highlands would serve in protecting Dutch East Indies interests. It made no sense. War seldom does. Then 5 hard years later, fighting harder for housing with those very same shamed colonials, pouring defeated back into Holland. A much-grown man, restless in a cramped attic, furious, his sent home savings hung prettily in his sister's wardrobe. Back across the seas, New Zealand beckoned. Arriving in the sleety winter of 52 to a cramped cabin at the St Kilda camp, strict rules overlaid with pursed Presbyterianism. Feeling as though he was back in the army, but grinning still from 6 weeks romancing aboard the SS Savayak, that cosy cabin to themselves 2 afternoons a week. And now, watching out for her beside the big bronze barge, too pragmatic for poetry, too poor for a red rose, but taking my mother's arm gently, nonetheless.
Thanks very much, Bev. So, as I mentioned, as you'll soon hear, the top 3 poems in the published category have all have a very Burnsian sound to them, the other similarity, I guess, is that in some ways they link back to what you might call an ethos that you could attach to Burns, be it his cheekiness, his compassion, particularly for small creatures, or the consequences of his many romantic liaisons. And on my notes I've got romantic in inverted commas because they can have multiple meanings. But in each case there is enough of the poet's voice and the contemporary perspective in each poem to avoid them being merely a pastiche of Burns's work. So, in 3rd place we have Colin Gibson with his poem A New Ballad in the Manner of Robbie Burns. My notes on this one that it has a great feel for rhythm and rhyme, but is also rich in what I might call good banter. I suspect this will be a crowd pleaser tonight, so without further ado I'd like to invite Colin up to say his poem.
I'm not going to preface it with anything much except to say that the Merry Muses of Caledonia seldom finds a place in the collected works of the bard. I think this is a great miss, because however much Burns was involved in that collection, and that's not entirely clear, he obviously rejoiced in the banter and the bawdy of real people that he kept being real with. What ails you, Willie? Poor wee man, you hang so far adown, and ye have shrivelled so we can scarce see your crown. My love is in a far country, and I ha' cause to pine, for though I crave her loving arms, I canna make her mine. What lifts you, Willie, to such heights as ye will pierce the sky? Stiff standing there, say proud and tall, a sight for a lustful eye. Though she may be so far from me, I hae nae cause to pine, for I may lack her loving arms, but dreamt that she was mine. What swells ye, Willie, to such size? Ye hang a Dunningham, but red and stout, ye stand right out, as hard as granite tall. My love's a bed wi' me, no longer shall I pine, for I am in her loving arms, and she is staunch in mine. What will ye do, wee rosy fair, with all your main and might? Do let us in, and we'll begin to share your plain delight. The play betwixt we twaar, my friends, is not for others' sight. I'll draw the curtains fast, my friends, and wish ye all good night.
Thanks, Colin, that was fantastic. In second place, we have Peter Matheson with his poem, The Birdie. This is a poem, again, which absolutely has that Burnsian feel, but Peter has managed to wrangle enough of a modern perspective into the poem with the wicked ruffians who plant bombs, and I guess what I might call eco-poetics coming into this work. So congratulations, Peter, and I'd love to invite you to come up.
I think it's very unfair of the organisers that I have to follow this. When I wake up in the morning from my usual nightmares, the thing that cheers me up is the birdie, the singing of the birds before dawn. And then in my stupidity, I put on the news, imagining that there'll be good news. And of course it's more bombings and terrorism and Trumps. So it's the tension between these two I'm trying to talk about here. Some of the Scots dialect, I think, is fairly clear. Lift in Scots is air, like the German Luft, and the poem finishes with Dang dun death. Dang is knock down, death. So the birdie. At my streak o' day, afore the dawn, afore the sun would drench the world with lissome warmth, yon birdie's wide awake, filling the lift with sang in this quaint new tune. Her wee hearts fit to burst with all the joys of spring. Each bright-eyed dawning day, she brings good cheer to honest folk, warrants the waeful dark is gone. God's licht is streaming in, where nae mair hodden doen. The wicked ruffians would mak us all afly, slurk hatred, fear and hurt, plant bombs, kill friend-like folk, turn life to death, and licht to murk. Ye are that geist, we will not be feared. yon birdie's brawl bright sang reverberates. Her glittering ee and jaunty walk derides all nicks dread packed with teeth. They will me win, nay never, never nay. My bonny bird, we'll heed your sang, o life and love and carefree days. Far frae the Rico honest toil, high Hedians are in a dwa arm, brows creased sair all round the world, lest muckle hate defile our homes, one bloody deed beget another. If only our twa-legged bug would learn to strut along the roofs, fluff out their clays and clear their throat, as good men and women down the years swore solemnly they'll never be afeard, seeing yon bird, and minding the soul that flies sae blithe and free. Let's mock sick loons with spurling sang and dang doon death.
Gosh, what a treat it is to actually hear these poems read aloud by their authors. I think it's fantastic, and we have one more treat to come, and this one's going to be slightly different as well. This year's winner of the published category is Jill O'Brien for her poem Reply from the Lassies, which bravely examines the more questionable side of the bard, looking back at Burns the romantic, and in particular the illegitimate children he fathered and the consequences that might have brought about, and looking at it from an empowered, feminine perspective, befitting of the Me Too hashtag and the moment that was only started to come about in October of last year, so it felt very much of the moment when we were reading it in December. It's a poem that does not shirk from any of its challenges, from the use of Scots to the handling of historical and contemporary material, but we are in capable hands and are rewarded with biting wit, some great turns of phrase, and plenty to chew on. And as I said, we're in for a treat because this poem was intended to be sung. So before we get Jill up here to award her prize and be knighted, as it were, with her medal, we're actually going to have the local writer Donna Young come up to perform Reply from the Lassies. So Donna.
First of all, I want to say thank you and congratulations to all those poets. Great poems and great to be read aloud, as you said. Thank you to the judges, and also can I say thank you to Kay, who does this every year, and there's a huge amount of organisation that Kay does. So thank you very much, Kay. Thank you. So my original intention was to write a poem from Burns' mother-in-law, so Jean Armour's mum, expressing her dismay about her daughter's choice of partner. But the more research I did, the more of Burns' women appeared. This year of the 125th anniversary of women's suffrage in New Zealand, I realised that I wanted to reply from the lasses and give all of those women a voice. I'm also nervous, Belle, so I thought you did fantastically, by the way. Okay. So this romanticised version of Burns' love life, peddled by Victorian historians, not wholly accurate, and I wanted those women to tell their side of the story, and I wanted to make a point about history, that we can't ignore the bits we don't like, and it might be uncomfortable, but that's part of what we do, and that makes the discourse. I'm not the first person to question that myth of Burns as a role model. In 1930, Catherine Carswell's book was a frank account of that side of his life, and I believe that earned her receiving a bullet through the post. More recently, I don't know if you've heard in the last few days, Liz Lockhead, who is the Scottish Maker 2011-2016, has been all over the Scottish press because she has expressed her view that Burns was like the Weinstein of his age. So there's kind of squishy going on in Scotland at the moment through Liz. So as I said in the paper, often uncomfortable but important to not ignore history, I think, and parts of it. I wrote a song. I'm from Yorkshire. Yorkshire people are often called honorary Scots with the generosity taken out. But what they can't do is speak Scots. This one certainly can't sing, and it just so happens that I must choose my friends well, because I have a dear friend who not only can speak Scots, but she can also sing. So I'm absolutely honoured that Donna agreed to do this, and thank you very much. Donna.
So I have to say thanks to Gilly. Now I'm not sure whether, I think we might have to judge whether I can sing or not after I do this. I agreed when, because Gilly's a dear friend and she is a wonderful poet, and she told me she was going to do this and would I sing it for her. And I did agree, but I didn't really think it through that she might win. I'd have to do it in front of people several times. So yeah, so I think I win on the nervous thing tonight. So anyhow, I'm going to sing it and hope to do justice to her brilliant words, because they're, it's a very smart poem and it's funny, as well as having a beautiful lyrical quality that makes it lovely to sing. So. It's to the tune of, if anybody knows, it's Banks and Breeze, which is a pretty well-known Burns song. Okay. Oh, love is deep as the lochs o' the Highlands, yet short is your heart as you know the dune. Fu sober a mare to ride he on, ye wax and ye wane like Solamus moon. To Eliza and Jenny, Nancy and Anna, Nell and Peggy, Jeannie and me. Ye argue that lassies and love gae wi' posy, but I argue lassies and love gae wi' weans. Ye blaw your ain dochter is bonny and sweet, say you'll dote like a daddy should be. Yet Chochma Gandhi is yours, feather taken, and soon your doctor becomes 2 or 3. Ye rue you love them, o flichter in birdies, screeve your queel say tenderly. But was lilting ilka ballin, and kittlin them gently frae their first scree. Ye claver o love and simmer in mourn, ye heaver o dewy kisses stole, and say she's braw as the wildflower meadows, ye bonny light lassie, love o. But after threeping where ye she's sleeping, and whan her tears leave seas o sod, ye bled her heart when we walked. Joey did ask if I might do the English translation, so if you don't mind listening, would you like the English translation? I'm sure most of you get a lot of that old Scots anyway, but this is the English version. Oh, love is deep as the lochs of the Highlands, yet your heart is shallow like the mouth of the Doon. Drunken or sober, a mare to ride home on, ye wax and ye wane like the harvest moon. To the Liza and Jenny, Nancy and Anna, Nell and Peggy, Jeanie and me, ye argue that women and love go with poetry, but I argue women and love go with bairns. Ye boast your own daughter is pretty and sweet. Ye say that you'll dote like a father should do. Yet hanky-panky is yours for the taking, and soon your one daughter becomes quite a few. Ye smile, ye love them, oh fluttering fledglings, ye write about them so tenderly. Yet who is singing each lullaby and cuddling them gently from their first cry? Ye chatter of love and summer morn, you patter of dewy kisses stole. You say she's as pretty as wildflower meadows, your bonny blithe lassie, love of all. But after insisting with you, she must sleep, and when her tears leave seas of salt, when no means no, but nobody's listening, you broke her heart when you walked.
Author and singer. I'd like to invite Mr. Dunningham to come to the podium to speak about the prize. Gordon's wearing many hats this evening. He's speaking in a personal capacity on behalf of the Otago Scottish Heritage Society and also the Dunedin Burns Club.
Well, congratulations, Jill, and also to Donna. As a result, the Burns Club has gifted 2 tickets to the dinner tonight, so Donna can accompany you. So that's the first one. From the Otago Scottish Heritage Council, which is the jointly responsible for this prize, congratulations. This keeps coming. And from Lee and me.
For Yorkshire woman.
And now I love you or whatever.
Well done everybody, and thank you so much to all our amazing poets and our participants and our audience and our lovely judges, everyone who's come along this evening. I forgot to mention earlier that the City of Literature has also sponsored for the first time a ticket for our young poets, so you'll be able to hear all of those poets this evening if you're going along to the Burns dinner. So we'll be going along as well, and your ticket's waiting for you at the, I'm looking at you, yes, at Twitter. Excellent, thank you. So thank you to the City of Literature for that. So, to close us off, once again, thank you to everybody, and I would like to ask Eleanor just to read from some of her works, just to close the evening. But thank you all once again. Thank you.
Thank you. A special thank you to Kay for keeping us on the straight and narrow and for helping us when we got entangled. My first poem tonight is called Geraroo Crash. All eyes are on the attraction, mediated by some digital device, capturing one more element of the guidebook's list. Amidst the clatter and chatter, but not down in the essential guide, a young kereroo crouches, an injured jumble on hot asphalt. Everyone passes by. It is too harsh a challenge to perceptions narrowed to little screens. After all, it is only a bird. By some painful, mysterious process, the kereroo creeps towards sanctuary, a cool place away from the feet, up the step, in at a doorway. It crouches again on bare concrete, dark head buried in its shoulders, tail feathers splayed in disorder. Breathing, waiting. I should add that when this happens to you, that you have an injured young kereroo to deal with, you phone the DOC 0800 number and a wonderful ranger will come and take it to be cared for. So that's what I learned on my summer break. As you are all aware now, I hope, I write lullabies. This is a slightly different lullaby, but it is still nonetheless a lullaby. Magical Dream Coach. The boys are asleep in a tangle like boneless puppies on the back seat. You're here in front, you in your pillow slip bag to keep the mozzies off, I with my rancid pillow. Safe inside our magical dream coach, we rove down starlit paths, rocked so gently to sleep, to dream of our very own house. What wouldn't I give to be able to get up, walk into a kitchen, make a cup of tea. Safe inside our magical dream coach, we rove down starlit paths, rocked so gently to sleep, to dream of our very own house. We're settled for tonight at the domain by the beach. Windscreens blocked out, windows open just enough. There'll be time to swim and shower off in the morning before this turns into a car again and we start a new day of hoping. Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Eleanor. So, to our judges, Eleanor Poletti and Corey Clef, thank you once again. And you lot better hightail it down the road because the piper's going to be starting in 35 minutes. So do enjoy the Burns supper. Very happy birthday to Robert Burns, and thank you again for coming. Good night.